my pleasure to bring on the head of the red team, Mr. Joe Reno. All right, so red team members, if you guys can make your way up here, because you're going to be doing some Q&A for the blue teams. First of all, thank you for the blue teams for participating. You know, we put a lot of time and effort into planning this event, a lot of logistical coordination, and we do it for you guys. So give yourselves a round of applause. It's always fun to be that stressed out and get compromised. And I know you guys go through a lot, but you know. It's well worth it in the long run, and we're getting a lot from it. So this is the red team, new and improved for 2014. Half the people, twice the shelves. That's how we roll. We also have a visitor, David Cohen, from the National Red Team, or National Red Team leader. So whoever's moving on will be facing him shortly. Good luck. So, we always get asked questions, you know, how did you get in, what did you do, you know, help us out, and it always goes back to the basics. I basically have been saying the same thing for year after year after year. You can't secure what you don't know. You know, if you go into a pod and you have no idea what's going on, you have to self-assess. You have to look at, you have to scan yourself, use the tools that we're using, download, Nmap, Nessus, whatever. There's tons of free tools out there. Perform a self-assessment, survey your environment, and see what you're exposing. Also, figure out what you're getting scored on, because those are, that's where you're going to take your point hits. Those are the services that the red team would love to take down and kill your SLA uptime. So self-assess, understand your environment, know the business that you're running, and focus on that. There's a lot of red herrings or salmon boxes that you're going to spend a lot of time on that you're just going to get nowhere with. So screw that stuff, offload it, and worry about your core services. Also log everything. Who cares? You have no capacity issues. Put everything in debug if you have to, and centralize it. Your applications, your operating systems, your network devices will tell you what's going on. That's why logging and debugging is there to help you identify, you know, what's going on under the covers. So log everything, centralize it, and look at the logs. Don't just think that since you centralize it or that you are logging that's some magic silver bullet. Capture all the data you can and look at the data. Centralize it, run some reports, use grep, I don't care. Just look at the data, look for weird stuff. Keep an eye on your web servers, keep an eye on your network. And when you find out that the red team's in the environment, you know, it's a constant battle for access to, you know, our shells get killed, yet we go right back in. Same method. The shell gets killed and go right back in. Shell gets killed and go right back in. So what's the problem? You're just killing the shell. You need to find the root cause. How are they getting in? Why are they getting in? Are there backdoors on the system? Again, I understand that it's stressful and it's easy just to kill the shell, but if you don't take that next step, you're just going to be killing shells all day. So assign a team member, figure out how you want to do it, but assign somebody to look into the root cause and figure out what's going on. Let's see, we're going to jump right into to some of the exploits against some of the teams, and I'm just going to go in order. Some people up here may know the mapping from team to school by now, and to be honest with you, I still don't, and I really don't care. I just see the teams as a number, and it's better that way because it shows that the red team's impartial. So, like, I really don't care what team is behind what subnet. You're all enemies who are attacking him. So. Team 1, we'll just start there, and we'll pull some people up and talk about what they did, and this will be very brief. And then we're going to put it on you, and you guys are going to ask us some questions. So, actually, I'm seeing some stuff right here that I want to address. Team 1, it looks like you guys got popped with weak SNMP community strings. We started an hour and a half after you guys, roughly maybe an hour and 40 minutes. Unacceptable. I mean, not picking on you, but it's an hour and a half. You should not have stuff like that. You can't do that at nationals if this is the team that moves forward. Yeah, there's no excuse for default passwords, default community strings, default anything an hour and a half into it. You guys are just going to get slaughtered. And also as a heads up for whoever's moving on, there is no delay at nationals for the red team. So that hour and a half window that you still didn't get to fix stuff is gone. So everything that you did get to fix and that we couldn't get into because of the hour and a half is totally out the window. It does not matter. So you have to get even faster. So just keep that in mind. Here's actually, Alex, why don't you come up here and team 1, the second one, briefly talk about that one.
All right, this was pretty easy. And really this doesn't apply just to team 1, there's a lot of teams. The XAMPP web server running on .12 in your 10net, that box, if you don't know what XAMPP is, it's a suite of software for developers to build applications really, really easily because it does everything for you. It configures MySQL, configures Apache, configures, PHP on your box. But it does it in maybe some of the most insecure manner that you could ever do it in. So PHP my admin, it's just running default as administrator, no password. So being able to go in and say, oh, there's all your databases. Dump, I don't even need to use a command line. I can just do it right from my browser, right-click, save as. If you walk into an environment, whether competition or professional, and XMPP, WAMP, LAMP, whatever the four-letter acronym is for the bundle that's installed there, throw it out the door. If you don't know how to build a web stack from the ground up, learn it. You're going to see it every single place you work at. It's going to be a critical part of the environment, and securing it is going to be one of your most important jobs. We dump passwords. I don't have it right in front of me on. I would say we did it on every team pretty much for this through the XAMPP interface. Stop using it.
Let's see. Not too many other interesting attacks against Team 1, but since we're talking about Team 1, wherever you guys are, this is your opportunity to ask any questions to the red team about known exploits, questions, strategy. Now's your chance. Use it wisely.
Why don't we just have an anonymous?
Well, we're just going to go down in order. So we're going to go in order, but I want to focus on each team to ask questions. They need to ask questions. So where are you guys? Or are you passing in this round?
Team 1.
Team 1.
Pass.
Pass. Okay. Let's see. Team 2. Some default accounts. Looks like we were BGB peering with you. Weak community string, same thing as Team 1. Again, that's going to kill you going forward. You can't do that. Those little things, they're easy to overlook. I understand how that can happen, but it's so critical because that's your network infrastructure. Like, the black team no longer owns your network. We own the network. We're co-owning it with you. Can't do that. A lot of default stuff. Weak creds, weak credentials, database dump. Nothing too sexy from our point of view. So team 2, any specific questions that you guys want to ask about the red team?
Yeah, if you to post the SQL, how did you get to e-commerce site?
E-commerce site. Team 2.
The e-commerce site was backed. The e-commerce site was backed by Mongo. I don't.
Not one IP. Where the Tomcat deployment was?
Yeah, what IP?
Yeah.
119.
That's what Tomcat.
Yeah, that's Tomcat.
Yeah, so Tomcat Manager was deployed with the default credentials enabled. The Tomcat Manager was deployed with the default credentials enabled, and what the manager actually allows you to do is remotely deploy Java applications through the web interface. So all you have to do is package up your shell in Java format and drop it in there, and it would just, you literally have remote code execution.
How did you get to a manager? How did they have this shared object on the box?
But,
Was that the one the SQL field that compiled?
So once you have a shell, Postgres has a bug. Postgres has a bug where you can select into an out file and create a shared object, and then use the select to load a shared object into memory. And then it is long.
Any other questions, team 2? Okay, team 3, going on down the list. Team 3 again, SNMP. I think that's a reoccurring issue all the way down the list. So that's, I'm not going to mention this anymore. This is a blanket statement for everybody. Focus on your network. You guys got hit with the 119 was hit on team 3 as well. Same thing. Custom Java app loaded to give a shell. Game over. Very similar stuff to the other two. So questions about any specific exploits or traffic that you saw or funny stuff. Team 3, Cass, questions? Are you here? Okay.
They're eating.
they're actually not here.
Team 4, same thing, lots of default credentials. Not a lot of stuff against Team 4, but similar stuff.
What was the, where'd you get default cred?
212. 212 Acme Administrator.
Oh, that was the cloud.
Local or cloud, 10 dot or 192 dot?
10.
That was a client laptop, I believe. Like the one that got popped and they dropped PAL.
Water?
Is that the one you dropped PAL?
that was not.
Or no?
No, that was not.
You want to talk about leveraging Spark? Yeah, that's the one.
So there were a few teams that stood up Splunk, I think 2, maybe more. Maybe I didn't see those other ones. But I think it was on team 4 that I noticed it first. And I was pretty excited about it, but it seems like you guys were in a pretty shitty situation in terms of like the requirements you had around deploying that. But basically, it's you can upload a custom Splunk application, and that's backed by Python. So it's like it's a Metasploit module, but I did it manually because it wasn't working too well automatically. But it's like 15 lines of Python, and then it just takes in a custom query parameter when you search in Splunk, and then you can input a base64 command. So like do ls base64, input that into your custom search parameter that executes then your custom app, and then just search results are the results of that command being run. It showed up on team 4 first, and then I think we saw it on team 2 afterwards. But yeah, that was fun.
So the actual payload that you used, that was some sort of FIFO that you turned into a shell or something, like a bidirectional communication channel?
Yeah, so basically, you can upload custom applications to Splunk, and normally it's like, you know, do this custom thing with your query, and like blah, blah, blah. You can do different things with your search parameters and data that gets returned in search queries. But that's just a Python script that backs that, so it's actually in the Splunk web application. You can, and since there was no authentication because they couldn't get an enterprise license, you basically just upload a compressed file that has all the files needed for a custom application.
That was the backend, it wasn't on the payload, but it was in that block. Yeah, that was.
So the payload,
Your first name.
yeah, on team, I think Lucas was on team 2 for that. I did it on team 4, but we had a couple different people using that. I think we were trying some Metasploit interpreter, like Java interpreters. I'm not sure if Lucas was doing anything else, but yeah, I know that we were trying some interpret payloads.
Do you guys have any questions, Team 4?
Yes. So on the Linux, I know that you were able to edit our Doku Wiki at times. I know you were able to get into Salmon Linux through the extra shell that popped up whenever I used PS. And I know that you were able to get into the our Tomcat box using the Splunk way. Were there any of the other Linux servers that you got into or got other access on?
Yeah, so one thing we do is we leverage credentials that we pull up. Like we pull credentials.
If we pull a credential off one team, we immediately start comparing. Like, hey, if you're on team 4, try this. And so there was the MDL private key that was sitting on most of the Linux boxes in various capacities. It wasn't just in one user. It wasn't just in one location. It was littered around, and we used that to get in. It was brief, so we weren't able to do much because you guys saw me do it. And
also, we didn't have SSH turned on anything but the cloud. The one in the cloud.
That was the box. It was a 192 box.
And it didn't have any logins at the end. In last, did not have any logins.
I have to go through my notes, but we hit almost every team with that. We would share credentials constantly, and there wasn't a team that we weren't in a Linux box with a shell. That's what. Yeah.
Moving on down the list, Team 5. Looks like you guys, again with the networking, say no more. Tomcat backdoor, do you have an idea about that? Pretty much all, very similar things to what we've seen. There's nothing unique on the list of compromises for your team. So we could, after the debrief, we could give you more information about all the exploits, and that's for all the teams of what we actually did, but it's very similar, so it gets redundant. So I'll just turn it over to Team 5 to ask any questions that they have.
I have a question. In the past, you have, we took quite a while getting to our booster hypervisor, our inside box. But it still had default credentials laid down. You didn't change its credentials. Did you access that at all earlier?
I don't think we did anyone's here.
Yeah, I don't think we did much.
I've noticed in the past that you have, and you completely locked us out.
Yeah.
vCenter.
I think we even started trying to play with it for 5-6 hours, and at that point.
Everyone changed credentials.
We're pretty late when that's it.
It was interesting hearing the black team say there was a different account on there. We didn't try.
There-
We were administrator, the default one was, and after we couldn't get, like, there's so much. One thing you got to know about the red team is there's so much going on that we have to go through the paths of least resistance. So if we go to vSphere,
Doctors with scalpels.
Yeah.
5-year-olds with sledgehammers.
You have to remember that there's, this year there was 7 of you and only 1 red team. So we don't have a whole lot of time to do anything really fancy. We do basically a lot of stupid tricks, a lot of knocking on the door. And if you have a door that's closed, we're not going to waste any time trying to get through that door. We're just going to go to the next team and try the same thing, knock on their door. So, I mean, there's just so much going on that we just don't have time to get fancy. We just sit there and do a bunch of stupid tricks. And if you've already blocked us, we just go on to the next team because we have to hit everybody.
Friday is a breadth search for us. Saturday is when we do the depth search to try and, like, okay, well, we need to find more ways to do this.
Yeah, time or energy. We're gonna take the easiest route, because that's how we roll. And yeah, why? Why sit there all day to get root on a box through some funky method when you're like, there's the default account I can log into. Like, personally, you get the satisfaction of doing it, but we need to start popping things, so we're just gonna go at it.
Question about a number. How many shells on average do you have per team?
Oh, God.
So one of our red teamers reported at the end of day one, it was his first time red teaming, Dan Vis. He had a little bit over 80 shells, he said?
Yeah.
Himself, like 80 shells.
Yeah, he gave me a Metasploit project that I loaded up, and yeah, there was close to 90 shells.
So like,
that was just one dude, yeah.
But like, what's the range? Like, what's the minimum and maximum?
It depends on time of the day and when it is. I mean, like, it really is like the biggest thing we saw for one of the biggest things we saw with getting all of those shells, like the 80 shells that this got, was we popped like every domain controller, and once we got one, we had the hashes, and they're the same hashes, but they're the same images across all teams. So we just started passing the hash, and we just PSX our way in.
And that's when it got real.
Yeah, we literally had like shells coming out of everywhere. Like it was a problem to manage. Like, yeah, but like this alone had 84 shells, something like that, coming back just from the domain controllers. I think across almost every team, not all of them.
That's what we do.
Yeah, so what did I leave off on? Was that team 5 or was that team 6? Okay, so we're at team 6. Some PII stolen from 192.168, 6 to 11. Database dumps. Here's one that doesn't appear to show up, or I overlooked. Anonymous FTP, access to the whole drive open for read and write. That was 10 on the 10 network, 10.10.6.1.2. Network, SNMP community strings, Tomcat backdoor, a lot of the same things again, you know, reusing hashes. So team 6, just like the rest of them, very similar attacks that we've leveraged. So questions from you? Pass? Okay. Team 7, the final team. Same thing, .211 on the 192 network. Looks like you guys suffered some PII loss, some credit cards were stolen, database dumps, SNMP, database, domain admin, stolen keys, that's been covered, EGP.